Good folks, and welcome to the show. Needs careful planning and flawless execution to make technology work for us. So, how many times do we succeed? On this show, we invite business leaders and subject matter experts with extensive experience in technology management. The intent here is to learn from their experience and discuss better ways to manage technology. To learn more about the show, please visit thoughtshow.aval.com. That is thoughtshow.aval.com. Today's topic is IT challenges of retail industry. Our guest for today's show is Jef Fite. Jef is the Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer with Family Christian Stores, a leading retailer in the growing Christian product market with over 320 stores in 39 states. Jef is responsible for all systems and technology at FCS and is also responsible for company's internet business channels. Jef joined Family Christian Stores again in November 2000 after serving as the president of iBelieve.com, a sister company to FCS from its startup in May 1999. Prior to joining FCS, Jef worked at Anderson Consulting, now Accenture, for over 9 years, assisting clients in technology strategy development, business process design, software development, and projects and program management activities for Family Christian Stores, Meyer Quality Stores, Ford Motor Company, Steelcase, Caterpillar, Manuel, and the United States Department of Defense. So, morning, Jef. Welcome to the show. Yeah, just before we started the show, listeners, we were talking about the weather, and I guess he's enjoying a great weather where we are almost touching 50 degrees here tonight. So, of course, I know what the weather is all about. That he has. So, okay, let's jump into the retail organization challenges. And as we see, for any retail, unlike typical B2B or other type of businesses where the size of one transaction might be bigger, but they're not that many transactions. Unlike a retail organization where the biggest challenge is how to manage detail and doing that much volume. And this is referring to the large number of products, SKUs, customers, store locations, suppliers, and there's so many things here, and that have to be managed at a daily basis for you to be able to have a good tab on what's going on. So over the years, how do you think has technology evolved to help manage these details for the retail industry?
Yes, sir. A moniker in the retail industry is retail is retail, and it certainly is a key issue for us as technology managers. In the past, retailers only captured department level or category level information. If you think way back to the old brass cash registers, they certainly didn't capture any type of item level information for people to try to use. I think the primary advancements that have enabled the necessary detail in the retail enterprise is really just the increased capability, increased computing processing power that we've seen advance over the last 10 to 20 years. Storage capabilities and costs from just the way costs has dropped dramatically for storage requirements, item identification and barcodes contains capabilities, and then also obviously the telecommunication bandwidth and the ability to move information has been huge. Even though retailers capture a bunch of SKU store level detail and customer specifics in their system, the ability to do something meaningful with that data is oftentimes a differentiator for competing retailers. SKU store level combinations. At Family Christian Stores, we have about 1.5 million SKU store combinations that are processed at least weekly through our automated replenishment system to ensure we're in stock on those core inventories. But I think that the advancements in computing power, storage costs, item identification, and telecommunications capabilities are the things that will continue to advance from a technology infrastructure standpoint and make that kind of detailed analysis possible for us.
So when you talk about technology now and then with proliferation of internet, we know that you got stores, 320 stores, and sometime back, even for some cases now, people have leased lines that they use for communication. But have you been able to leverage the internet and have some kind of a global VPN infrastructure that would allow you to really bring the cost almost to zero in terms of the communication cost that you might have?
Yeah, we have begun that process. We had some stores, frankly, that are still using some more, I guess, traditional dial-up communications, and other stores that are using frame relay networks. And, we work with our telecommunication providers that are actually taking advantage of the internet. And so I would say we're in the process at this point, but certainly those advancements give us the ability to drive costs down while increasing our service levels. and really providing us the opportunity. You know, a lot of what we're trying to do is make our stores feel better connected. It just reduces a lot of the paperwork that has to be shuffled between the locations. Then again, it's a lot of it is, fortunately, in this day and age, is not rocket science, and it really depends on how the retailer takes advantage of the technology advancements. But certainly, connectivity, network connectivity across all the various locations is one of the keys for a retailer in staying current these days.
So when you mentioned about the dial-up, and also you mentioned that you let these people go and connect to the corporate network, are they dialing in to the corporate network? So, for example, if I go to another bookstore, I will not name a specific one, but then when we show we're not carrying it right now, but we do carry it, it's possible that it might be in another store. So they do a lookup right away.
Exactly. We're seeking more to centralized data and the ability to do that from all the look. We have the ability to come up to our corporate office and see customer information. If we have a customer standing in front of us that perhaps, missed a purchase in one store, but they're standing in a different store wanting to make a return, then we can scan a barcode on the customer's receipt, come up to the home office and get the transaction information and be able to process that return much more quickly and accurately than we would have in the past. So that's one example. And the example you provide, how we'd be able to look at inventory across the enterprise is a key advancement that we've been able to put in place over the last year or so.
So now, whatever things that you mentioned was that have related to technology that have evolved to manage the retail industry. Now that is the answer was specific to your particular type of business, or would you say across the board? Are those the common issues across the board, or there are some more or some less?
I think I've had the fortune working with several different retailers. I think a lot of times those issues are pretty common across different segments of retail. Things certainly the ability to get enterprise-wide inventory information is critical to most any retailer. Any retailer that's really trying to be somewhat customer intimate, be able to get at customer information across their enterprise is important. I think for us as a specialty retailer, for example, I think some of that customer information may be more important than it is to a mass merchant. One of the ways that we feel like we're going to win against mass merchants and other general market retailers is we have to know our customers better. We have to provide assortments that are more tailored to their interests. We have to provide better service for them when they're in our stores or when they're ordering online. So I think a lot of that customer information becomes even more important to a specialty retailer like ourselves that's focused on a particular customer segment and is trying to market and sell a specific product assortment to them.
And I think what you said definitely makes sense, because if you pick up book retailer or general purpose book retailer, they go breadth-wise. They would actually carry a lot of different things, so a lot of different subjects. What you're going depth-wise, stick to one specialty, and you just go deep into what all different things you can capture within the same specialized focus. And in that, I also see, while it's a great thing and it gives you the market leadership, it does take away the thunder. And of course, you can't eat the cake and have it too. That a person like suppose if I am going and trying to get some self-help books or some religious books or something of special interest, which is basically falling under your segment, how many of those books would we buy? So it's not only books, maybe there would be other things which would be, you can say, attached to buying a book or being of that mindset that you potentially could be selling, or you might already be doing that. So how are you using technology to mine data or to gain some insight into the consumer's mind and say, okay, if he bought this, then he should also be able to buy this book and also some other articles or something else, so that your overall revenue stream increases, you cross and upsell?
Sure. I think many would be surprised by the breadth of merchandise that's available in this marketplace. But your point is certainly well taken. That we are a specialty retailer focusing on a particular consumer niche, focusing on particular products. But we have diversified the product range into areas. We certainly sell books and Bibles, but we also carry a pretty wide assortment of Christian music. So many folks would be surprised to know that there's Christian music in almost every genre that there is. General market or what some would call mainstream music. We've got contemporary, alternative, country, urban, instrumental, etc. All those things with Christian themed lyrics and so on. We also carry videos and software, green cards and stationery, jewelry, home decor items, apparel, so on, and a bunch of products for kids as well. So, in one sense, it is focused. In another, we're still talking about well over 100,000 SKUs in our assortment across our chain, and any given store would have 29 to 40,000 items in them, depending on the size of the store. And technology certainly plays a key role in a number of different areas here. One of the issues, quite honestly, is that our consumers don't understand the variety of products that are available. If you go to a Barnes & Noble or Walmart, you see a rather limited assortment of products that are actually available in the marketplace. So part of it is an education issue, and actually technology plays a part in that as well. We have sampling capabilities in our stores where people can come in and scan, the barcodes on PDs and sample pretty much any music CD that we have available in our stores. So we have sampling capabilities that we're just beginning with our DVDs and videos, so that people can sample, our customer can sample the videos in the stores. We're even looking at our books and the ability to work with our publishers to creating some materials where, for example, an author, we have an author video talking about, why did the author write this book? Why do I care? What does the author hope that the reader gets from the book? Those types of things. So sampling technology and just other ways that we can try to educate our consumers, both in-store and on the internet, is something that we're spending quite a bit of time on. The good news is this is also a way that we can help with the product knowledge transfer in our stores with our store associates. We can use those same technologies to ensure that our store associates are kept well connected with new release folks music videos and other entertainment products, at least. Certainly our future vision, like many retailers, involves also more interactive things with our consumers. We have the ability to look at kiosks and other ways for consumers to identify the products they're looking for and purchase them. So, I think there's still a lot of things that we're trying to identify the way technology can help in those areas, but there are plenty of things to keep us busy, I think.
That's wonderful. Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back after these messages. And let's talk quickly about, while the technology is helping in further fine-tuning what a customer wants, how do we further specify which store should carry what, depending on the kind of interest that a local community has shown? But let's pick up that topic once we come back from the break, so please stay tuned.
Today, college graduates average 75 to 110% more income than non-graduates. But if you don't have time to go to college, let the college come to you via the internet. At University of Phoenix Online, you can earn your degree when and wherever you want in just 2 to 3 years. University of Phoenix is the largest private accredited university in the U.S. We offer degree programs in business, technology, nursing, education, and more. Call University of Phoenix Online at 1-800-797-3011.
Looking for ways to improve your IT department? Then visit www.avval.com today. Aval is a professional services firm with a mission to help companies align IT with their business objectives through strategy, technology, branding solutions, and services. Our commitment is to ensure bottom-line improvements as a result of services rendered by us, whether it's an IT needs assessment, strategy development, or related implementation. We back it up by our unconditional, positive ROI guarantee. To find out how Aval can help your company, visit www.aval.com or call 1-800-947-2832. Aval, making IT work and look better. www.avval.com. Visit today.
Do you want practical business talk radio that thinks outside of the box? Then you need to tune in every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time to Business Out of the Box with Margot Maddock-Murphy. Margot will tackle many different aspects of the business world, from building and reclaiming your profit to improving communication and breakthrough thinking, with great opportunity to call in with your questions or new business ideas. Your host, Margot Maddock-Murphy, is a veteran in business deployment and profit building working with companies such as AT&T and Johnson & Johnson. Her business experience spans the globe, working with over 40 countries and in 11 industries. Margot, her guests, and callers are truly your airtime business solution finder. So don't miss your chance to keep the profit in your pocket and get out of the box every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time. Once again, that's Business Out of the Box, right here on BusinessAmericaRadio.com. Talk radio with a business perspective.
You're listening to BusinessAmericaRadio.com, the leader in live business talk radio.
You are listening to Managing Technology the Right Way, brought to you by the University of Phoenix Online. If you have a question or comment, call toll-free at 1-866-233-7861. Now back to the show. Here's Sanjog Aul.
Welcome back to the show, folks. For listeners who just tuned in, today's topic is IT channel challenges for retail industry, and our guest for today's show is Jef Fite. Jef is the Senior Vice President and CIO with Family Christian Stores, a leading retailer in the growing Christian product market with over 320 stores in 39 states. Before the break, we were discussing about the different ways we can understand what the consumer pattern is and accordingly leverage the technology to get more insight and accordingly carry the different assortments of things that we sell, especially being like in the case of Family Christian Store, which is a specialty retailer. It makes all the more sense because they cannot undercut on the cost. So the follow-up question I had, which we are going to pick up now, is that while all the stores are carrying the things which are needed, and that's based on the data mine, a second level of data mining or business intelligence is where you actually look at the mindset, the buying patterns of people in a specific community, and maybe there would be some special events going on in a special location which would call for people to go and buy a specific type of books, or that would change their mind, so they would go to that particular store. So accordingly, you change your inventory patterns in there, so when the people come in, that something what they would like to see is not out of stock. So are we doing something similar in your case? Yeah, we are. I mean, you would find in our stores, typically, probably, depending on the stores and the market, 70 to 80, maybe 85% of the items are what we would call core. Those are items that are pretty much in every store we operate. But then the other, 15 to 25, 30% of the items are tailored to local market conditions. And we have a program that we call the Family Cooks Program, which is our frequent shopper program. And we have about 80% of our transactions, our sales transactions at the point of sale, that have a customer attached to those transactions. So we, for the most part, is own what customers are buying what in what markets in which individual stores. We use this to read up with our automated replenishment system and some of our assortment planning systems to really try to marry together what are the items that are selling in those local markets. In our case, it may be certain denominations of churches that are represented in certain markets. Whether it's a primarily Protestant or primarily Catholic market. Some of it's demographic related as to, what type of African American representation do we have that are in that market? What kind of Hispanic representation do we have in that market? And I think there's always going to be ways to get better at that, but that is certainly one of the key ways that we're using our technology in the way we use the transactions to come up from our point of sale on systems to ensure we're doing a pretty decent job of tailoring our assortments to what the local market needs. Yeah, in fact, there are two types of business intelligence mechanisms that are used. And in fact, there's reactive and there's proactive. The reactive would be definitely where we know what the sales are doing in a specific area, and accordingly, we make some patterns and work with that data to take care of our inventory. The other one is a proactive pattern, which is instead of demographic and for sales data, it goes from event. It takes care of the events. So something is going to happen here in, say, 2 months. So how are people going to behave, and how do you spread the message at the right time to the people saying, right now, Family Christian Stores is doing this, and you have a specific event going on, and then automatically this becomes like a pull marketing, so instead of a push marketing. So that's another place of, you can say, potential enhancement of your capabilities from the data mining standpoint. So this is just a thought, but you have any suggestions regarding that or any thoughts about this? Yeah, and I'd say that's certainly a good way to look at it, reactive versus proactive. In our market, this is the first
music artists that are creating products in these markets doing store events, and there's concerts, there's speaking engagements, and so on. And we work with music labels and publishers to ensure that, at least for the higher profile authors and artists, we know where they're going to be and what they're doing. And we have been able to take advantage of it. Our split to the 90 million, reasonably good shape in how we attack that side of it. I think the proactive side is one where I think we've made some progress, but that is one that, certainly your internal technology has to be working well, but it also requires pretty good connections to external parties, at least in our case, where we've got other entities that are really driving a lot of the excitement, if you will, in the marketplace, because those are typically driven by new releases of sports music and video product.
Great. And now there's another thing which we say about retail organizations that, since it's been around forever, sort of the very time when people started buying things, retail has been there. So, of course, technology started catching up, and they have come to a point where they have almost optimized to the maximum, which is theoretical maximum, or maybe say practical maximum. They have optimized business processes, the supply chain, the business intelligence functions. So given that, and with all the competitors that you might have in the specialty market as well as general purpose retailers, where do you see there's any potential improvement left which you can use as a competitive advantage?
Well, I think there's plenty of opportunity for improvement left. I mean, certainly there are some retailers that have invested heavily on the supply chain side and on the demand side that have really used technology effectively to grow their businesses. But there are tons of retailers, especially on the specialty side. A lot of smaller retailers, but I'd say even the larger guys still have a lot of room to go. I think certainly internally there's still opportunities, but I think one of the things that will continue to advance is the collaboration area. Ways that retailers can work more effectively up the supply chain with their supplier partners to get more efficient with their supply chain information flow, product flow, but then also really taking it to the next level. It gets talked about a lot, but I'm aware of a lot of retailers and their supplier partners that really do a good job in collaborating on the forecasting side of the business, or, as we were talking about a moment ago, in forecasting as it relates to marketing activities. So I think there's really still going to be a lot of opportunity from a integration perspective, and how do I look at some of those supply chain collaboration tools that are available now, and how do I get the appropriate level of marketing information? What am I doing with events and promotions and other things that are going to drive visits that have impacts up and down the supply chain? So I think that's certainly going to be there, and as long as we have marketing people, we're always going to have new and interesting ideas and concepts that we have to try to react to from a technology perspective. And I think there's always going to be ways. I mean, the one thing you have to remember with retailers is retailers typically operate with very skinny margins. We oftentimes, when you get down to the bottom line, typical retailers are lucky if they're taking a nickel to the bank for every dollar they sell. The margins are slim. So, improving your inventory turnover by 1/10 of 1%, if you have a number of stores across the country, can generate real benefits. So I think there's still going to be some opportunity. Some areas that are still getting quite a bit of attention. Retailers have really gotten into space lately, trying to make sure that they lay out their stores and present their products in a way that optimizes their sales per square foot and optimizes their inventory investment. So I think if you look at kind of the next level of collaboration in the supply chain, if you look at the next level of interactive technologies, consumer-facing technologies, consumers are getting. One of the things the internet has done is ensuring that we put all the technologies in place that can really optimize the enterprise that we're trying to run here in retail. And while there's certainly been a lot of advancements, I think there's still many opportunities to continue to optimize our business.
And in fact, what you just gave as an answer to my last question, it brings back the point about how do we bring together the online and the click and mortar experience effectively for people. And there's one more concept that is catching up is the local fulfillment, where people would not want to wait. They would not want to pay the premium of going to a store, but and they want all the rebates and all the discounts. But then when it comes down to getting the book, they would rather go to a store and pick it up, and that's local fulfillment. So that automatically brings some challenges, because earlier earlier we know used to happen where a store, a specific retailer would say, whatever you have done online, we do not honor it. And then slowly they started honoring those coupons. And now they have to even deal with fulfillment, which is happening across online and the brick and mortar. So let's pick up these challenges that we have from logistics standpoint, supply chain, and corresponding technology, which needs to support it after we come back from the break. So please stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back.
Today, college graduates average 75 to 110% more income than non-graduates. If you don't have time to go to college, let the college come to you via the internet. At University of Phoenix Online, you can earn your degree when and wherever you want in just 2 to 3 years. University of Phoenix is the largest private accredited university in the U.S. We offer degree programs in business, technology, nursing, education, and more. Call University of Phoenix Online at 1-800-797-3011.
Looking for ways to improve your IT department? Then visit www.avval.com today. Avval is a professional services firm with a mission to help companies align IT with their business objectives through strategy, technology, branding solutions, and services. Our commitment is to ensure bottom-line improvements as a result of services rendered by us, whether it's an IT needs assessment, strategy development, or related implementation. We back it up by our unconditional, positive ROI guarantee. To find out how Avval can help your company, visit www.avval.com or call 1-800-947-2832. Avval, making IT work and look better. www.avval.com. Visit today.
Informative, entertaining, and educational talk. www.voiceamerica.com. Come find out what you've been missing.
Do you want practical business talk radio that thinks outside of the box? Then you need to tune in every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time to Business Out of the Box with Margot Maddock Murphy. Margot will tackle many different aspects of the business world, from building and reclaiming your profit to improving communication and breakthrough thinking, with great opportunity to call in with your questions or new business ideas. Your host, Margot Maddock Murphy, is a veteran in business deployment and profit building with companies such as AT&T and Johnson & Johnson. Her business experience spans the globe, working with over 40 countries and in 11 industries. Margot, her guests, and callers are truly your airtime business solution finder. So don't miss your chance to keep the profit in your pocket and get out of the box every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time. Once again, that's Business Out of the Box, right here on BusinessAmericaRadio.com. Talk radio with a business perspective.
You're listening to BusinessAmericaRadio.com on the SurfNet Radio Network, brought to you by SurfNet Media Group, publicly traded under the symbol SFNM. BusinessAmericaRadio.com.
Keeping you a step ahead of the changing world of business. This is BusinessAmericaRadio.com.
Welcome back to Managing Technology the Right Way with Sanjog Aul, brought to you by the University of Phoenix Online. Call in with your questions at 1-866-233-7861. Now back to the show. Here's Sanjog Aul.
Welcome back to the show, folks. For listeners who just tuned in, today's topic is IT challenges of retail industry. Our guest for today's show is Jef Fite. Jef is the Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer with Family Christian Stores, a leading retailer in the growing Christian product market with over 320 stores in 39 states. For the break, we were discussing about the different challenges that we always have in terms of how to make the consumer experience better, and we looked at the idea of local fulfillment, which is catching up, where consumers actually want to get their best deals online or wherever possible. And then when it comes down to delivery, they don't want to be waiting for 10 days for a UPS ground or some other carrier sending them their stuff. They would rather go to the local retailer or like corresponding retail store and let's just pick up the articles that they have bought. So that being said, it does bring some challenges from all different angles, maybe logistics, maybe customer service, and or and actually most importantly from the technology standpoint. So what have been the challenges? First of all, is local fulfillment approach being carried out, and if yes, then what kind of challenges are you facing from technology standpoint?
Yeah, we are not doing that today. However, we are moving rapidly towards it. I know we probably want to get towards the technology discussion, but my experience here at Family and Pat, experience with other retailers has been there really has to be a management priority to make this multi-channel capability go. Because as you mentioned, there are many different business functions within the companies that have to be on board with this approach and supportive of it. Everything from store operations to the logistics function and marketing and merchandising for that matter. So it really, to make it work, you've got to have management buy-in because it requires so many different functions to make it happen. But for us, at least, the most significant challenge to date has been inventory accuracy. In our world, if you think about a bookstore, oftentimes for a particular title of book we're using for video, something like that, you're typically only talking about having a few of those items on the shelf at any given point in time. So if a consumer is going to go online and search and identify and read across the enterprise to ensure that physical item is in fact in stock and available when the customer comes in to pick it up, these capabilities require a whole new level of, I would say, system interoperability. You've got to certainly have your corporate systems talking to your store level systems, talking to your web-based systems. You've got to have data sharing going on at a whole new level. And one of the issues that we've had as well has just been, in our case and the other retailers were, oftentimes the web-based systems are typically newer generation technology trying to talk to older legacy systems that view the enterprise-wide inventory. These also require, we talked a little bit about network connectivity, certainly the ability to in near real time talk between web-based systems, corporate systems, and the stores. So this is really an enterprise-wide business issue, and it certainly is an enterprise-wide technology issue. But I certainly think these capabilities will be a condition of doing business going forward. Consumers are going to expect it from everyone, and no one, in my opinion, is going to be exempt from that. I think in our business, it's probably not as critical as it is in larger ticket items, electronics, appliances, those types of things. I think there's going to be faster take-up on this local fulfillment aspect, at least. But certainly, even for our business, we're already seeing the need through customer feedback and other things to do a better job of integrating our channels. And that is really a key priority for us over the next 12 months.
So like with any book retailer, the key to your profitability is actually going to be that's how much and what are the customers asking, and definitely you're investing in that. And also, to some extent, as you mentioned, like since your margins are so low, so the inventory management, how quickly can you turn around your inventory would be the key to success. So you would want to ideally reach the JIT model, the just-in-time inventory model, and how well are you able to get into that? And the other thing which you also mentioned is a chronic problem is that how much does your supplier know that you are still towards the reorder level? How much of insight has been given to these suppliers so that at the time when you're just reaching the point where you cannot sustain the customer's request anymore, so those guys come to know right at that moment and they send it instead of sending you a bulk set of books or whatever other articles that you're selling, and then it sits there and increases the inventory maintenance cost. So where are you in that whole approach of reaching the JIT model?
Yeah, we are, I would say, within our four walls, if you will, within our organization, I would say we're in reasonably good shape. We certainly have some improvement opportunities. But as you mentioned, I think the win for us is better collaboration with our supply chain partners. The good news in the retail industry is there's pretty commonly accepted practices, commonly accepted applications for handling automated replenishment and so on. The algorithms that are used and a lot of the statistics that are used to try to optimize your inventory. A lot of those things have been worked out to the point that there's pretty commonly accepted models and commonly accepted technology that's pretty widely deployed in that area. We're able to keep our in-stocks in the high 90s. We're able to move purchase orders and invoices, via EDI and other electronic means back and forth. I think the nut to crack, if you will, in retail, and some segments of retail have gotten much further in this than others. And I would say our segment in Christian retail is probably a bit behind, and that is on the collaboration side. I think the win for us is when we can more effectively integrate both the suppliers' marketing programs as well as our marketing programs to be more effective at forecasting, especially new releases. For us, if you look at new, it's similar to the way it is in mainstream music or mainstream books. When Harry Potter hits the marketplace, there's obviously a huge demand for the product in the first, and usually the first few hours even, but certainly in the first few days and weeks. So the ability to be able to get can do a good job of forecasting demand, but then also to be able to react quickly in certain markets, certain stores that are selling at rates that were unanticipated. And as you mentioned, that requires coordination and collaboration with your supply chain partners so that you don't have to kind of bear that entire inventory burden and inventory risk to knock up for those situations. A lot of our suppliers are divisions of general market parent companies. A lot of our publishers are part of New York publishing houses. Many of our music distributors are part of general market music companies like EMI. So we pretty decent capabilities with those larger suppliers. We also deal with suppliers that are very small, but manufacture products that are in high demand by our customer base. So we really have to have some varied capabilities there. But the key for us in the future to really be able to advance where we are today is going to be able to test demand forecasts that we're generating to make forecasts that our suppliers are generating, and more efficiently bring that to a point that we can, kind of in the electronic world, agree on what the right forecast is, and then be able to efficiently react to local market needs again as the products release. And that, I think, is a common issue across all segments of retail. I think the challenge for us in some of these entertainment products is just that when they sell at such a rapid pace that you really have to be prepared for that.
See, one of the issues that we have seen in technology management, and this is more an approach the way technology leader might take or the team might take, is that one is that if it breaks, don't fix it. Other thing is that I want the best and the purest approach. So it has to be a good balance there, because many times we'll see that if a company has been around and they have been focusing, like in your case, if you're a specialty retailer, you're focused. So there would be some core functions, technology functions also, which may not need tweaking after a certain point, and they can be left as is. And any money saved from that could be put into the new initiatives. So that management is also going to appreciate, and overall the value will also be created. However, there are times when, it's that the same funds are used to keep on tweaking something which could very well work as is, and the actual value, the net value, is not created as it could have been. So what are your thoughts about that?
That's certainly true. Retail is probably definitely an industry where that mindset, kind of those two different mindsets, are very prevalent. There certainly is one mindset that would say, we've been reading sales on that register for 10 years. I bet I can read a sale on it next week. So let's just leave it out there. But then you see some of the advancements that are being made, capabilities, again, from getting customer information down to the point of sale. So the suggestive selling is something that can be a reality. That's different. I think I think you can definitely just get factual management perspective. I think in our company, we have a balance. We do have certain components of our technology that we don't see significant return on investment in investing heavily in that area. And I can't put those dollars towards more investments in other areas. And I think historically with a lot of retailers, point of sale has been an area that they've neglected. To then basically said, if I can ring a sale today, I can ring a sale tomorrow, and I can ring a sale the next day. But I think software providers have made some significant advancements in some value-added functions that can happen at the point of sale that involve more than just ringing a sale. So, staying on top of those advancements is critical. But in our world, again, with the margins being what they are, return on investment calculations and following up on those to ensure that you are, in fact, getting some tangible benefits out of your technology deployments are critical, because we just can't afford to spend money without a return coming back.
So great. Let's take a quick break, listeners, and we'll be back after these messages, and we will talk about things like outsourcing, web services, business process management related issues that are to be dealt with from the technology standpoint and technology management standpoint. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today, college graduates average 75 to 110% more income than non-graduates. But if you don't have time to go to college, let the college come to you via the internet. At University of Phoenix Online, you can earn your degree when and wherever you want in just 2 to 3 years. University of Phoenix is the largest private accredited university in the U.S. We offer degree programs in business, technology, nursing, education, and more. Call University of Phoenix Online at 1-800-797-3011.
Looking for ways to improve your IT department? Then visit www.avval.com today. Avval is a professional services firm with a mission to help companies align IT with their business objectives through strategy, technology, branding solutions, and services. Our commitment is to ensure bottom line improvements as a result of services rendered by us, whether it's an IT needs assessment, strategy development, or related implementation. We back it up by our unconditional, positive ROI guarantee. To find out how Avval can help your company, visit www.avval.com or call 1-800-947-2832. Avval, making IT work and look better. www.avval.com. Visit today.
Informative, entertaining, and educational talk. www.voiceamerica.com. Come find out what you've been missing.
Does your 9 to 5 make you feel 6 feet under? Tune in to One-on-One with nationally known columnist Jay Whitehead to learn ways to turn your career around. Heard every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, Jay will give you tips on promotions, salary negotiations, relocation, and the real skinny on bonus money. So tune in and get out of the 9 to 5 rut with One-on-One with Whitehead every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on BusinessAmericaRadio.com.
The challenges facing today's brand marketers are constantly changing. Stay a step ahead of the game by listening to Brands on Demand with your host, Doug Rand, the president and founder of Brandside. On the show, Doug will provide tips and insights into maximizing your brand return in an ever-demanding marketplace. Take your business to the next level. Join Doug Rand for Brands on Demand every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on BusinessAmericaRadio.com. Real business issues, real business talk.
Keeping you a step ahead of the changing world of business. This is BusinessAmericaRadio.com.
You are listening to Managing Technology the Right Way, brought to you by the University of Phoenix Online. If you have a question or comment, call toll-free at 1-866-233-7861. Now back to the show. Here's Sanjog Aul.
Welcome to the show, folks. For listeners who just tuned in, today's topic is IT challenges of retail industry, and our guest for today's show is Jef Fite. Jef is the Senior Vice President and CIO with Family Christian Stores, a leading retailer in the growing Christian product market with over 320 stores in 39 states. We wanted to discuss and rather touch topics related to outsourcing and web services and VPN. So let's start with outsourcing a little bit and understand that what has been your thoughts regarding what are your thoughts about the technology functions, outsourcing and the business process outsourcing?
Yeah, I have been able to kind of sit on both sides of the table of that. I've worked for a consulting organization that was pretty active in the outsourcing space, and then I've been on the other side of the table, being a CIO dealing with outsourced, at least IT functions. We have really not gotten into other business processes from an outsourcing perspective, but from 1994 to 2001, we did have an outsourced IT shop, Spirit Family, and it really, in our case, it was somewhat situational. In 1994, the company had just gone through a management buyout. The parent company had provided a lot of the IT services and and support. And at that point, the company was really in desperate need of IT systems upgrades. So we worked with an outsourcing consulting shop that performed a lot of the system replacements. We literally replaced all the systems for the company at that time. Every piece of software was swapped out, most of the hardware was swapped out. And then we were in the systems for 7 years. And even to the benefit of family, that upfront system cost was amortized over the life of the 7-year contract. So in essence, they got billions of dollars worth of new systems that didn't have to pay for it at that time, could pay for it over the life of the outsourcing agreement. And that was a huge benefit to them. So I think a lot of times, at least my experience with outsourcing is somewhat situational to the company's or in objectives as well as their current strategy, and it worked out well. I also, at that time, and before I was actually working for that consulting organization, and then in 2001, when that contract expired, and I was a CIO at Family and had the pleasure of unraveling the outsourcing agreement and bringing the IT shop back in house. But again, that was the right decision. And the consulting organization we were working with worked with us to make that happen. So it wasn't one of those contentious situations at the end of a contract. But it certainly helped us through a time in the company's history when the company was growing. We tripled in size during this time. It allowed the management of the company to focus on the growth and allowed kind of an experienced IT consultancy to focus on ensuring that we had the technology capabilities we needed during that heavy growth period. But for us, as we looked at other business processes, we've looked at accounts payable, we've looked at payroll, we've looked at a lot of different things and really haven't found other business processes that seem to make sense for us from an outsourcing perspective. And nowadays, as we look at outsourcing in our IT world, I carry a staff that really is capable of operating and managing the current systems and current business, as well as do some incremental enhancements or small projects. Anytime we look at a large project, we do have to work with outside firms to do large system development projects, package implementations, that type of thing. So, I guess I have a perspective, having been a consultant and now working as a CIO, that there certainly is an appropriate role for consultants in the IT space. And we certainly work with outside firms on a regular basis. And
this is wonderful. Now, there's another hype, I would say hype, because the fact is, people do not understand it completely, but still they want to jump on the bandwagon in business process management. This is a generic term. Yes, we want to manage the business processes, and then people want to come back with tools which would further help you manage the processes which have been already automated. So instead of human beings managing them, a system would manage it. So have you had a chance to look into this avenue for you to be able to increase any kind of, you can say, efficiency in your organization, especially from technology management standpoint and business management standpoint?
Yeah, frankly, Sanjog, this is not an area that we have, at least initially, found much value in. We're certainly a very process-driven company, but we have been able to identify tools that we feel like are worth the investment in this area, I guess I would say. You also have to remember that we, on a relative basis, are still a relatively small company. Our corporate office has about 250 employees. So as I have looked at some of those tools, I think for larger organizations that are trying to manage more people conducting similar functions, I think there may be more value there. But for us and the size organization that we are, we just have not been able to look at those tools and we haven't even gotten to the point of frankly running any kind of return numbers or anything. It just seems way outside the bound of what we feel like we can get in terms of reasonable return and reasonable value from them.
And what do you think about the rep services? While there is value in there so that you can create a common plug-and-play module or a plug-and-play interface with your suppliers and everything, but would you not have to rip apart your existing system, which you spend millions of dollars setting up, and then putting these web services in? I mean, there are schools of thought either way. So what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, we are taking good advantage of web services. We are upgrading applications and upgrading other infrastructure. We typically are ripping out the functions and other things within legacy systems to make that happen. as we are looking and we are in the process of deploying new point of sale systems, for example, we are definitely using web services heavily again to come up to our corporate office and get customer information, get inventory information, and so on and so forth there. And we are using web services to communicate more and more with our supplier partners. So that, I think, certainly does have value for us. We're approaching it more, taking advantage of that technology in the context of other projects. We're not kind of doing that in and of itself to upgrade these particular functions within legacy systems.
So what do you think there's technology enhancement, or isn't it technology evolution with respect to retail organizations? What's going to happen to the technology for retail organizations in future?
And I think we touched on a lot of this today, but I think it's probably going to come down to 4 or 5 main areas. I think there's going to be much more advancement in the consumer-facing or interactive capabilities, or certainly as the internet continues to proliferate and consumers get more comfortable with the level of control they have over the shopping experience. I think you're going to see much more of that get integrated into what goes on in stores. You're starting to see it more and more everywhere. Certainly kiosks are all over the place. You've got certain technology showing up in Starbucks stores. You've got just a lot of things happening in terms of consumers' ability to interact with technology within stores and shops and so on. So I think that is going to continue to advance. I think channel integration similarly is going to continue to become the norm. Consumers are going to the ability to search and identify and reserve and order and pick up their purchases and merchandise in whatever way is most convenient. You may have a consumer that wants to come into the store this time, but next time they want to go or just have the products shipped to their homes. So a lot of that channel integration is going to have to be there for retailers to be competitive in the future. We talked about collaboration, and I think the next wave of collaboration, some of our supply chain partners will continue to be a heavy emphasis for retailers and their supply chain partners. For web services, I think the internet is going to play a critical role in how those supply chain partners communicate with each other effectively. I would call it kind of serial identification of merchandise. RFID is the term that's thrown around quite a bit. The ability to identify, especially in big ticket items, retailers, the ability to identify a particular refrigerator, not just the fact that it's a given item number. I think that's going to become much more relevant to a lot of retail segments going forward. We talked a little bit about business intelligence, and again, the other buzzword, I guess, would be CRM, or customer relationship management. That technology will continue to advance. Retailers will get much better at serving individual customers rather than the masses, if you will. I think retailers have made a lot of progress in that, really, even in the last 12 to 24 months. But certainly for a specialty retailer like us, that really is going to win based on service and selection and knowing our customer very well. Those type of tools and the ability to really understand our customers, their buying patterns with us, but then also a lot of just their general lifestyle preferences is going to become incredibly important to feed on a long-term basis. So those are some of at least the 4 or 5 things that I really think from a technology standpoint are going to continue to advance and continue to move the retail industry forward.
So great. On behalf of the show and our listeners, I would like to thank you, Jef, for sharing your views about how to make the best use of technology for a retail organization.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks again. To be successful in a retail industry takes impeccable customer service, highly optimized supply chain management, and scalable technology strategy and related infrastructure that would support the above functions that we mentioned, and that would allow us to satisfy the customers who come in so that they don't stop coming back again. Thank you again for listening to Managing Technology the Right Way. This is Sanjog Aul, your talk show host. Till next Friday, take care and God bless.